Spies, thieves, brigands, mercenaries, all of them fall under the purview of the rogue, an adventurer at home in the shadows, alleyways, and hidden places of the world. In this video today, we're going to be doing another deep dive on another one of our classes for BG3. This will be of course, 12-part series where I hope to give you a better idea about each of the classes ahead of the launch of BG3 come August 3rd. Today, we'll be focusing on the Rogue. I'll be pulling information from the 5th edition Player's Handbook, and I'll show off the early access character select screen where things are a little limited. There won't be a ton of visuals because I don't want to spoil anything from the game for myself or for you. And how we'll be doing this video is by talking about the base kit without any subclasses, then go into the 3 subclasses we know are coming at launch. It's worth noting that most subclasses abilities go up to level 20 in D&D, but the cap for BG3 is level 12. So we'll talk about those high-end abilities because we still aren't sure if they're coming to the game in like a modified form or what have you, but that's just a bit of transparency first. Keep in mind you can fully respec both your character and companion for the exception of their race, so I encourage you to try out every class you're curious about when the game launches, and please, as always, play how you want, not how the internet tells you. Lastly, too, I am no D&D expert, not even slightly, so I apologize if I missed the mark on any of these descriptions. If you need help with any of the terms, I made a quick terms guide for you in the upper right corner that goes over stuff like advantage, ability checks, and more. You can quickly navigate to any part of this video that interests you the most using the chapters in both the timeline and the description. And don't forget to check me out on Twitch, where I will be streaming BG3 on launch, linked in the description and pinned comment. Let's get started here on my Rogue Class and Subclass detailed breakdown for Baldur's Gate 3. Loading into the game, we have what would seem like a very simple character in the Rogue. You don't get flashy spells, you don't get crazy things here and there, but what you actually do get are a ton of things to do. The Rogue is a character that is going to be using finesse style weapons like your longsword, rapier, short sword style stuff, hand crossbow. I think hand crossbow and rapier are actually finesse. I might be wrong there on the other ones. But you'll be using light armor, you'll be using simple weapons, but you also have dexterity saving throws and intelligence saving throw proficiency, meaning of course you would use this ability check plus your proficiency bonus of 2 to get that additional saving throw benefit. And this will span out across time. This is going to be even crazier. But what the Rogue does get is expertise. So we're going to go into skills here, and you can see that we have our typical proficiencies, right? But now we have, I think, our 4th is granted by, let me take a look here real quick. I'm sometimes dumb. Nope, I was right. So we have 4 skills that we're going to choose here. And then on top of it, we get the ability to specialize them. So, or I'm sorry, expert. You can be an expert in them. It's an expertise is what it is. So how this really works is, let's show you, we already have insight as a pre-decided skill proficiency for us. But let's go ahead and go with something like sleight of hand. Very roguish, right? So now your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check that uses either of your chosen proficiencies. And now that's at a 7. So basically what you get the chance to do here with a Rogue is choose your skills. Choose your skills and have proficiency with them. But then you get the ability to get an expertise with them for 2 of those skills. Then at the 6th level, you get 2 more. So you can have 4 skills that you're an expert at where you do quite well. So you could have this be stuff like sleight of hand and stealth and deception and acrobatics maybe. Or do you want to be a rogue that's more focused on the conversational side of things? You do stuff like performance, persuasion, intimidation, and really just put points into those. Whatever it is that makes sense for you in your rogue, you can really, really drill down on them. It's really a cool thing about them is they pull a lot out of their skill checks. Now, this doesn't have it in here, and I'm not sure how it works in Baldur's Gate 3, but in tabletop you can actually specialize in, or I'm sorry, you can become an expert in your thieves' tools. So I don't really know how that works here. I unfortunately don't have an answer for you there. But outside of that, we have things like the Thieves' Cant, which you can see on that chart that we showed a little bit earlier. Thieves' Cant is basically like a special language that all rogues know and have through their roguish training. And I'm not sure how that's going to push its way into the game. I would assume it's going to be in the form of certain conversational options for roguish background characters that you otherwise would not have if you did not have Thieves' Cant. But outside of those things, we start to get a lot of the crazy stuff about Rogue. So we're going to go down here to actions. They get sneak attack. So attacking from stealth or whatnot, you get advantage and what have you, but sneak attack allows you to add 1d6. Strike a vital part of a foe that you have advantage against. Conversely, you can also use this attack if you have an ally within 1.5 meters of the target and you don't have disadvantage. So what that really means is, let's say that you're right next to an ally and you're both fighting something, and you are not at a disadvantage. Maybe if you are, I think if you're using a ranged weapon and you're close, you get disadvantage. But let's just say you're using 2 melee weapons, you don't have anything that would give you a disadvantage. You can do the sneak attack against that target to do some additional damage, which is quite nice, right? And that's really what you're all about, is those sneak attacks and doing that damage. You can get the sneak attack, melee, or range depending on whatever you're using. And this scales up. It goes from 1d6. Now, if you see anything like this, you're brand new to D&D or you're brand new to tabletop games, 1d6. So the number 1 is the amount of dice, and the d6, d4, d3, d20, that is the faces on the die. So you're rolling 1 standard 6-sided dice. And as that scales up to, if we're talking about level 12 as our max, that goes to 6d6, meaning you're going to roll 6 standard 6-sided die, which is wild. That is a lot of damage to be adding. Outside of that, we get cunning action, which is already actually in the game. I've seen it. The way cunning action works is that you have your standard action and you have your bonus action. Well, cunning action for Rogue is kind of like an additional bonus action, but it only can be used on dash, disengage, or hide. Want to line up another sneak attack? Pop into a hide again. Want to sit there and get out of melee range because you had a disadvantage because you were using a range? Disengage and get the hell out of there. Also, you have dash to kind of close the distance so you can try to do some damage quick, hard, and heavy and fast. Then outside of that, into level 5, we get uncanny dodge. And this is kind of fun here. So basically, you can use a reaction which is after an enemy attacks you, you'd use a reaction, and it's basically a chance to have the damage. And then you can expand this out to evasion and elusive. I was like, where the hell is it? I'm looking at the book here. Evasion is another really cool one here. So there are certain spells within the game that will do area of effect, or maybe a fire dragon shoots its breath at you, and you are not right dead center. You're kind of like on the outside, and you can do a dexterity saving throw. Remember, you have your dexterity saving throw proficiency. So anytime you have to do a dexterity saving throw that would otherwise have the damage if you succeeded, the way that this works for Rogue, for evasion, if you pass the dexterity saving throw to get out of the way of maybe a fire breath attack or an ice storm spell, whatever it is, you will outright mitigate the damage entirely. But if you fail, you only take half. So it's always a win for you versus other people. Either they take half or they take a full amount, which is really, really, really cool. You also get a really cool ability called Reliable Talent. So whenever you make an ability check that lets you add your proficiency bonus, you can treat a standard roll of 9 or lower as nothing lower than a 10. So you basically always roll a 10 for any of your ability checks, or your proficiency bonus checks. So anything, just to kind of recap what that means, let's say I have proficiency in intimidation, and I go to make a check in a conversation for intimidation, and the difficulty class is a 9, and I roll the die and I get a 5. But hey, you know what? I've got reliable talent. I actually got a 10. So it auto passes anything that is 10, that is basically 9 or lower, because 10 or higher, it's if you are at the difficulty or higher, you pass. So you're good to go with reliable talent. It's quite nice there. It kind of gets you basically an auto win button for your proficiencies, which is pretty cool. Blind Sense basically allows you to sense anyone within 10 feet of you, whether they're hidden or not. And then Slippery Mind gets you another proficiency saving throw. So you have Dexterity Intelligence. Well, at level 15, you'd get the ability to have a Wisdom saving throw, which is awesome. And then Elusive is at 18, so unfortunately wouldn't probably get this in the game in any way, shape, or form. But how this really works is no attack roll has advantage against you while you aren't incapacitated. So you're basically always defending. Any attack that hits you never gets advantage, which is just absolutely awesome, right? Because you are a stealthy character. You're wearing light armor. You have high dexterity, which then gives you high armor class, but you are not the person sitting in there taking all that damage. It's a very fun class, but I think even more so are all the ways you can modify, improve, and change this class through its subclasses. So the first subclass I want to talk about is probably the one that's more or less the one that departs the most from your general rogue in the Arcane Trickster. And the Arcane Trickster adds in wizard spells to the rogue's kit. You get spells from the enchantment and the illusion spell schools. And unfortunately, in early access, there's no choice for any kind of subclass, so I can't even show you anything cool in the meantime. But really what you do here with this is you're going to have access to things that are really going to help you out in confusing enemies and helping you stay hidden and so on and so forth with illusion and enchantment. But the big thing you get is your mage hand. And the mage hand does a number of things for you. So you do get access to 3 cantrips. Mage hand is one of them, and then 2 other cantrips from the wizard spell list. But this is what your mage hand does. This is straight from the book, so this might be obviously a little bit different. Oh god, she looks beautiful. Might be a little different when we come to the actual game. You can stow 1 object the hand is holding in a container worn or carried by another creature. You can retrieve an object in a container worn or carried by another creature. You can use thieves' tools to pick locks and disarm traps at range. It's like my favorite thing about it. Is like I love that you can basically use this thing to pick locks for you, to disarm traps for you at a distance so that you don't have to get yourself in as much danger. But in addition, you can use the bonus action granted by your cunning action to control the hand. So remember cunning action when I talked about, that's the one that allows you to dash or disengage or hide. Well, now you get the cunning action and you can use your mage hand, which is 6. So you can use that to try and distract people as you get up to level 13. We'll talk about that with Versatile Trickster. But at level 9, you get magical ambush. So when you're hidden from a creature, when you cast a spell on it, the creature has disadvantage on any saving throw it makes against a spell this turn. So it's kind of it behooves of thee to put yourself into a state of being hidden, either by using hide or some sort of spell, to then cast spells while hidden as the Arcane Trickster, to basically have them have a disadvantage, have anyone that you target have a disadvantage to save against that spell. It's really sick. And then as you push into Versatile Trickster, which is at level 13. I hope they push it down to 12 for the game. But basically, you can use your mage hand to distract people. As a bonus action on your turn, you can designate a creature within 5 feet of your spectral hand created by the spell. Doing so gives you advantage on attack rolls against that creature until the end of the turn. So you can use it to distract, you can use it to give you an advantage, so on and so forth. The last ability that the Arcane Trickster get is called Spell Thief. And basically, whenever someone around you casts a spell, I think it's actually if they target you. Oh no, the target includes your area in effect of you. They can steal that spell as long as it is within the levels that they can cast. So what that means is, when you first become an Arcane Trickster at the 3rd level, you get access to the 1st level of illusion and enchantment spell schools. At max level, I'd say at 19 actually, is when you get access to the 4th level. So, for instance, if I'm playing an Arcane Trickster, and anyone, doesn't need to be a wizard spell, anyone casts a spell around me, and I'm level 8, which means I can cast up to the 2nd spell level. They cast a spell around me that is a 2nd spell level. I can do some saving throws and whatnot, or what have you, and then have that spell fail and copy the spell, which is really, really, really sick. I love that ability of the Arcane Trickster. It is a level 17 ability, so I don't think we'd actually see it in the game, but it's still one I wanted to talk about nonetheless. Our next subclass is Assassin, and this one I think is going to be very interesting to see how they actually bring it into the game, because the Assassin has a lot of abilities that are, you know, par for the course, right? Oh, stealth skills that are poison in disguise. Okay, Assassin, get it. But they also have some abilities that are very kind of situational to the way that you would play in tabletop. So we'll discuss them when we get to them. But for starters here, when you select the Assassin at the 3rd level, you gain proficiency with the Disguise Kit and the Poisoner's Kit, which is going to allow you to, well, disguise yourself and poison things. So you've got proficiency in those right at 3rd level. But also at 3rd level, you get Assassinate. So here's what the book says. You have an advantage on attack rolls against any creature that hasn't taken a turn in the combat yet, which is really, really nice, right? You're stealthing around. You can just basically choose someone. You get advantage on them. You stealth attack. It's going to give you that, this stealth attack, by the way. It's going to give you that additional damage here. But in addition, Any hit you score against a creature that is surprised is a critical hit. So you can really ramp up a lot of damage because, again, you're an assassin. Now, here's the two abilities that you get that are very kind of geared towards how you approach things in tabletop. Infiltration Expertise. Basically, how this works is you create a false identity for yourself, and you're able to spend some time and you create the backstory for that false identity, and you use that false identity to infiltrate maybe a ball, or you're trying to use it to sleuth information in a tavern that in a brand new town you've just gone to, whatever it is. So I'm not sure how Infiltration Expertise will come into the game for Baldur's Gate 3. That's not to say that it's going to be bad. I think it'll probably be amazing because they've done such a really good way of taking a lot of the things that are very pen and paper focused, and they've taken a really good way to kind of twist them into a beautiful symphony. What the fuck am I trying to say? But they've done a really good job of bringing stuff into the digital game in a way that makes a lot more sense for what we're doing. So Infiltration Expertise, I don't know what we'll do. I don't know if it'll allow you to kind of lie on the spot in certain conversations, or what it will really lead to. I'm not really 100% sure, and I'm definitely open to what you guys think. Or if you've seen something in a video from them that said, hey, here's how the assassin's going to work, please let me know in the comment section below. Because also Imposter is one I don't know, because basically you get the ability to completely mimic someone, their speech, writing behavior, everything. So you spend some time, you mimic them, and then you use basically nonstop charisma. You have advantage on any charisma check you make to avoid detection. Okay, so you use charisma checks to avoid detection, but basically you've mimicked a character. So this is, again, that's a level 13 ability, and I'm not sure how that's going to make it into BG3, or if it will, because it is a level 13 ability. Lastly, they have a level 17 ability called Death Strike. This one's easier to kind of envision, right? Because it's Death Strike. So when you attack and hit a creature that is surprised, it must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, double the damage of your attack against the creature. So really kind of turns you into a tried and true assassin with a ton of damage potential at the end. So I could see them kind of morphing assassin to be more damage oriented and be less of a sleuthy James Bond, I guess you could say, like have the ability to kind of infiltrate and so on and so forth, because that is so pen and paper situational and less geared towards like the damage or attacking of a game like an assassin typically is. But let's move on to our last subclass. And the Thief is one I think that will play very well in Baldur's Gate 3, since Baldur's Gate 3 is focused so much on the verticality within the game. So let's talk about that, right? So first off, we get fast hands at level 3 when we assign ourselves the Thief archetype, the roguish archetype, right? Burglars, bandits, cut purses, and other criminals typically follow this archetype, it says. But the fast hands ability here basically allows you to use that cunning action. Remember, cunning action is basically your special bonus action that allows you to use dash, disengage, or hide. But this time you can use it on your thieves tools to disarm a trap or open a lock or take the use an object action. So this is a really cool way to basically interact with the game world quite a little bit, right? We know that that is a big focus of BG3, so I think the Thief is going to be really cool with the Rogue. And please, by all means, I'm not trying to color your perception of which one to choose. I just don't really know how the Assassin's going to play compared to the other two, which seem like they have very cut and dry ways to play in the game world, in like an actual digital game world. Because the other ability here, Second Story Work, also you get at level 3. And this allows you to climb things faster than normal, or forge over like a gap. So you can make a running jump. The distance you cover increases by a number of feet equal to your dexterity modifier. And we already know that that's a big portion of the game, right? Trying to find little locations that are hidden where there are treasure chests, or maybe a different way to approach a castle or whatever, like a dungeon, or like, hey, there's a cellar and there's some spooky bandits in there. I don't even know why I'm talking like that, but you can use this kind of thing to navigate the game world. And I think what would be really cool here is, and I don't know how if this plays itself out like that, but hey, there are certain points in the game that you either need a teleport spell or the jumping capabilities of a thief, someone that can actually forge that distance, which would be quite cool, right? We already had that in Divinity Original Sin, so I think it kind of stands to reason we might see that here. But we also get Supreme Sneak at level 9, where you have an advantage on dexterity stealth check if you move no more than half your speed on the same turn, so just way better at sneaking. Use Magic Device here. You ignore all races, class, race, and level requirements on the use of magic items. And we know that that's already a thing in the game, how magic item usage will be catered to class or races. It's one of the things that makes race selection semi-important is because A, you cannot swap it off with a respec, but B, that it allows us to use special items. So use Magic Device, which is a level 13 ability. I think they might drop down to 12 for the Thief. Allows a Thief to use pretty much any and everything in the game. Then lastly, they get Thieves Reflexes here. You can take 2 turns during the first round of any combat. You take your first turn at your normal initiative and your second turn at your initiative minus 10. So it basically allows you to go into combat twice in the opening portions of the combat, where you get to play however you would normally play, and then you'd play what your initiative minus 10 is. So probably at the end of that combat round. So it allows you to kind of spice around, do some more damage, maybe move into a better position coming for the next round, where you maybe go again very quickly because your initiative is very high. Whatever it is, Thieves Reflexes is quite cool, or Thief's Reflexes is quite cool, although it does happen at level 17, so it's hard to say if we would actually even get this in the game at all. But at that, it brings our video here to a close. So hopefully now you better understand the Rogue. And I think the Rogue is going to be one of those ones that people might look at first blush and think, well, you don't get so many cool things, right? You don't get an animal companion. You can't summon down the power of Tempest to smash things apart, or you can't summon a familiar and blah blah blah. Yeah, I don't care. I can forge up the side of a castle wall. I can steal things out from underneath you. I have so many skill, proficiency, and expertises that allows me to just kind of manipulate the game world in a lot of really cool, fun, creative ways. That is the Thief. Well, that's the Rogue. Well, Thief is also a part of that, right? So whatever you decide, hopefully this helps you out in your decision about the Rogue, or what subclass to play with the Rogue. Next up, we'll have probably the Fighter or the Monk. We just did the Paladin, but go ahead and let me know in the comment section below what class you'd like for me to cover next. We're coming around to, I think we got about like 8 more to do or so, something like that. We have plenty more to dive into here with Baldur's Gate 3. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.